Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon when you are tuning in. I appreciate you. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 97. I'm your host, Menelik Fernandez. The premise of this show, of course, remains the same, where we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, where we talk about intricacies of the game in terms of planning, in terms of in-game adjustments, in terms of performance evaluation, all these little nuances that coaches love and try to get better with. And excuse me, uh, in the vast majority of these shows, I've been very fortunate to have coaches from the games that we're taking a look at join us. Today is another one of these very fortunate occurrences. Today we're looking at a high school game from the DMV area. It's St. Charles versus Northern, and I am very, very lucky, fortunate to have a good friend of mine, Coach Torrence Oxendine, join me. Ox, give me a second. Let me try and warmly welcome you to the show in a manner in which you deserve. For those who don't know, Coach Ox is the lead evaluator and head scout of Cerebral Basketball Services. He was also a Dobo at Team Takeover for 11 years, was an athletic director and teacher in PG County in their public school system for 9 years. He's currently the head coach at Northern, which is the game we're taking a look at today, in his third system, and he teaches at McKinley Tech. So I'm thrilled to finally be able to sit down with my man, Coach Ox. It's a real pleasure to have you on. Forgive me for anybody who listens. Torrence Oxendine is a little too formal for me. I know this gentleman is Ox, and he's somebody that has just always had good advice and has been a receptive ear to listen to my quarrels and qualms throughout the past couple of years, and somebody that I really consider a friend. So welcome, sir. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. It's an honor and a privilege just to be able to join the esteemed guests before me on Run It Back, and so I'm just delighted and elated to be here. As you said, we are great friends, brothers, and it's always a blessing when you can learn from people. And I always say you need to be, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you need to leave the room. So that's why I always feel comfortable in the room with you, because I know that there's somebody much smarter than me in there.
I appreciate you, and I will transfer that tip that I owe you for that warm compliment at the end of the show. We don't have Cash App in Canada, but PayPal is right there and it's waiting. Uh, that being said, let's start here. Set the stage for me, if you will, as to the conference you play in, the level of competition. For somebody who might not know anything about Northern's background, give me an idea of where you're at and what you guys are doing.
Okay, so Northern High School is in Calvert County, and Calvert County is in the SMAC conference, Southern Maryland Athletic Conference. Probably arguably one of the toughest conferences in Maryland for public schools. I think it's a very underrated conference, as well as a lot of the college coaches who've been coming in lately, because it's always had a rich tradition of basketball and just athletic excellence in general. This year, our conference was fortunate enough to have a state champion in Westlake, as well as a state runner-up in Huntingtown. Both are great programs, storied programs, and both have great coaching staffs, to say the least. The conference as a whole is a strong conference. It's a lot of parity. It used to be top heavy, several years ago, but just due to the parity that has occurred in the last maybe 5 to 6 years, the conference has really taken a turn for the better, and everybody has proven through just outside competition and meeting different higher standards when playing a competition just nationwide. We've had schools that played on ESPN. We've also been very fortunate enough to win a lot of challenges in the last few years when we play against other conferences. So, some of those top schools in our conference are Thomas Stone, coached by Dale Lambert, North Point by Jimmy Ball, Westlake state champ, that is Mouton, Ed Mouton. Brett, who is the coach at St. Charles, has had a lot of success. Tobias Jennifer, who just went to Comcast this year. It's just a lot of storied programs that is I like to say it's an underrated conference that I think will catch a lot more people by storm just by the several college prospects that we put out as a conference over the past few years, and we'll continue to put on because the conference is only getting better.
Love it. So this game, where are you in your season, and sort of how much time do you have off between games? When do you start a scout? Talk to me about this process here.
Okay, so St. Charles is always a tough opponent, and so we play twice a week. I usually start the scout as soon as we finish one game. I move on to the scout that night for the next game. So in preparation for games like this, so whether we're playing the number 1 team or the number 13 team, we prepare the same way because we try to respect all of our opponents the same way. You do prepare a little bit more for some teams than you do for others, but we try to give everyone that same general respect factor when we're scouting. At this juncture in the season, I was down a post player who actually was all conference before the year before that in John's JD Salo. And so we had a new player, Tommy Newsom, who played in the post for us this year. He did a phenomenal job. This was his first time playing since middle school. And so he really stepped up big for us in the middle. And we had we didn't have anyone who actually had varsity experience except for JD. So in just trying to gel and get everyone together at this point in the season, I think that we were doing a solid job of just trying to get guys to buy in and make sure they understand the culture and what we want on the court as well as off the court. But on the court preparation, through scouting, we try to do the scout as a coaching staff. Each coach on our staff, my assistants, Martino Wilson and Lou Payne, they're phenomenal young guys, rising stars in the game, and they'll have programs of their own really soon, sooner than later. Each person has a different angle of the scout. One person has offense, one person has defense, one person has ATOs, all those special situations. So we really try to drill that point home with our scouts. I try to watch 3 games before we give the scout. I just feel like if you've seen somebody 3 times, then that gives you a general consensus of what they like to do. You can get more tendencies, especially if you can see them at different points through the season, as well as in different locations, home and away, because sometimes coaches tend to put a little bit more emphasis on things when they're in an away situation, in my opinion, than when they're at home.
Right.
And so we're big on that. We watch film as a team, and we actually have the players create their own scout so that they learn to develop an eye for tendencies, as well as they can take their own notes. And when they're watching film on their own, they can utilize that to see how they can help the team individually so that collectively we can be successful.
So I like that. Let me jump in there, please.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask a bit of a compound question because there's
Mm-hmm.
a few things that kind of popped in there. But
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned your staff has different responsibilities with different portions of the scout. You mentioned you take a look at 3 games yourself. Do you guys come together first and create something that you're presenting to the team? If yes, is it a paper? Is it film? Is it a combination? And then you also mentioned that your guys are kind of doing something on their own as well, which is intriguing and I like. What does that look like? Is everybody sort of presenting together? What does this final product look like? How is it implemented?
Well, we try to mimic the college process as much as possible. So most of the time, one coach will take the lead when we're presenting the scout. Um, we meet as a unit to say, what we're going to emphasize, because we try not to emphasize more than 2 points per player or concept, because we don't want to give them information overload, especially right before the game. We just try to make sure that we emphasize, our main points of emphasis for offense, defense, special situations, tendencies, things of that nature, just so that the guys are aware, because we try to practice the same things every day just so they're ingrained. And we try to actually, in our scout, we try to emphasize what we do well against what another team does. So a lot of teams try to pick out, what other teams don't do or mistakes, or no, we try to see how we can best play our game against what they do.
I like it. So if there was a spectrum, I ask this one often as well. And at one end of the spectrum, it's like, we do what we do, but we're going to do it well. And at the other end of the spectrum, it's like, we make changes for every game. You'd probably lean a little bit closer to, you do what you do, but you do it well. And then you try to apply that to the things that you're seeing from the other team.
That's correct. I would say that we're more like an 8 to 9ish on that side of the scale.
Right.
And it affords you that opportunity, because we're fortunate. We have really good coaches in the SMAC conference. And a lot of those coaches stick to their tendencies and they stick to their guns. So it's an easier scout when you know who you're going against, what their tendencies are already. So it's an easier scout to write the notes out and say, hey, they're going to do this, we counter with this, more so than just trying to dissect and say, oh, well, they did this, but how do we do that? No, we literally say, hey, we do this well, this is what'll work against what they do. Let's emphasize that.
Like it. What would be the weight of matchups in a scout? You're going through, you're looking at film. Are you looking more at the player tendencies, or are you looking more at the sets that they run type deal? And then with those matchups, do you give everybody the tendencies of everybody, or do you kind of narrow it like, hey, Ox, you're going to be guarding so spend a little bit more time on mental tendencies type deal?
Mm-hmm. So we kind of mix it up a little bit, but we actually do more of we tell everyone the tendencies, because you never know what situation you'll be in. And I think that high school players, I think that we need to emphasize more of just learning the game, and instead of, so we don't want our kids to become robotic, because if you tell a kid, hey, you have him, I don't want him to score, well, that looks different to, different people. And
Right.
so, we try to just like map out the tendencies and say, oh, well, they like to shoot from the right side, or they, and this is one of the things I've learned over the years from you. But when you're talking analytics with young people, especially young players, you have to show them the tendencies. And when you give them the percentages, they can kind of correlate. Oh, okay, well, if I tell you that they hit 80% of their 3-point shots from the left corner, then you already know that the emphasis should be, let's not let them get the shots in the left corner. And so, when we bring analytics in, that kind of adds that another layer, so that they learn the game from a different angle, and they're not just looking to say, oh, well, he does this, he does that, because no matter what scout you give, there's always going to be someone that's not on the scouting report that's going to give you a lot more than you thought that he would. So now you have to be able to make that adjustment. And if you've been just watching the game and studying that game and just studying basketball and tendencies in general, I feel like you'll be more successful when those situations come up, so that you don't have to burn as many timeouts trying to correct and trying to reassess, when if you already know, okay, well, that's a possible tendency, here's the solution for that.
Love it. Do screen coverages make your scout, or do you play like a standardized screen coverage and just kind of have everybody do what your standard is?
Yeah. So we blitz every screen. The reason why we blitz every
You're
screen,
coming in hot, eh?
yeah, we blitz every screen because the typical high school play, and this is just our philosophy. Usually, the high school teams that we play have one really good ball handler. You may have a secondary ball handler, but that's it. So if you blitz them and create the high hands and the defensive strategy where we're communicating on defense, if you make it hard for the other guys to get the ball, or if you get the ball out of the hand of the primary ball handler, we always feel like we have a better chance on that screen to recover, whether we're going in drop coverage or whatever. But we feel like we can recover faster, or we actually create more turnovers by not going for steals and just trapping off of the initial any screen or dribble handoff. We blitz. So we think that, 6 out of 10 times we're going to cause you to pick the ball up, and that's what we try to do. Once we get you to pick the ball up, or you turn your back, then that's when our defense gets tighter, closes in, and we go into our different trapping mechanisms.
Like it. So with all of this process being combined and delivered, what are you doing on court leading up to the game? What are those 1-2 practices look like? Are they just a 50% shoot? Are you going through their actions? Are you talking about coverages? What are the practices leading up to this game look like for you?
So we try to keep the same. We try to keep the same practice regime. We like to. We do a lot of shooting because we're a smaller team, so we have to be able to shoot pretty well, especially at the mid range. I know that analytics tell you that you're not supposed to have the mid range shot, but we're big believers in the mid-range game and trying to work on that aspect. We also like to play off of 2 feet, and a lot of our, maybe 25% of our practice is just playing off of 2 feet, making sure that we can do what we want to do and make good decisions when we attack the paint and play off of 2 feet and actually drive and kick and hit the open shots. When we go over defense, and I'm a big defensive guy, and we like to mix up coverages. So depending on the scout, so leading up to this game, they have one of the highest 3-point shooting averages in the SMAC, and so they had one of their guards, Amir. He was shooting right around 44-45% from 3-point land. So we want to make sure that we understood that when we're doing our drills and our closeouts, that we're practicing running guys off the line, and that we're practicing what happens when we attack when they attack the baseline. How do we send it back? How do we recover? We also work a lot on just our blitzing the screen, because you have to practice things, and it takes 10,000 times to master something. And so we try to just continuously practice and reiterate those things, so that when they happen in the game, it's just second nature. So up to this game, and especially this game, because we knew we would be a little shorthanded, and Brett Campbell, who's the coach for St. Charles, and his staff, they always do a phenomenal job of preparation for games. And they have great athletes, and they always have great pieces. And so the couple practices there, they had a 6'8" post player that's very good, Wisdom Rogers, and they had a lot of younger guys. And they actually had a rising star in their shooting guard, who he can really light it up. And so, though in preparation, we were just trying to make sure that we covered all of those tendencies, running guys off the line, not being overly aggressive when we are blitzing the screen in the dribble handoffs, and making sure that we close out on the corner threes, because they shoot they shoot exceptionally well from the corners. And as you'll see in some clips, I'm probably sure you probably found it when they found guys, and when they find guys, they find them, and those guys knock those shots down. And so, that was the premise leading up to the St. Charles game, was just to try to contain their guards and try to run guys off the line and try to take as many charges as possible. We're a team defensive minded that we try to force you off the line, and we want to play great help defense, and we want to get at least 8 to 12 kills per game. And for us, a kill is 3 defensive stops in a row. So we try to get 4 per half. And statistics have shown if you get 8 to 12 kills per game, you have a 68% chance of winning that game. So we try to follow the analytics of that and, get 8 to 12 kills per game. Now, a lot of games you don't get 8 to 12. I mean, they're still high school kids, and you try to get them to understand that if everybody plays defense for 10 seconds or 5 seconds, that causes a lot of havoc. But, again, we just try to create a defensive mindset where, we just try to play solid defense and try to take as many charges as possible.
I love it. I love how thorough you are, Ox. You cover probably 4 or 5 of my typical questions with one of your answer each time. So I'm scrambling around like, no, he got that. He got that. Let's go into one thing just before I get into the actual in-game. You mentioned sort of on the defensive side, some of the keys that were like, the ideal things you needed to do to win and how you walk through them and practice them leading up. On the defensive side, what about on the offensive side? What were some things that you really wanted to take care of, reinforce, stress, whatever you want to say to your guys? Like, hey, this is where our advantage is. This is how we win the game, specific to this team.
So specific to this game, we were trying to, young people these days, and it's a generational thing. Everybody's not great at post-entry passes. So you have
that's a dying art for sure.
Yeah. So when you have, and we're guard heavy. And so when you have a 6'8", and again, Tommy did a phenomenal job with, just a minimal amount of high school experience. So we wanted to make sure that we could get Tommy's target hand, and we want to make sure that we put him in position to score around the block, but also that our guards were able to make post-entry passes and relocate to the open spot. We had a fair amount of shooters on our team. We had a couple guys who we had Jake, number 11. He probably shot about 45%. Trey, number 1, one of our point guards, he was shooting right around 42% from 3-point land. And then we had a lot of guards who were slashers, and they can get to the paint. The emphasis is getting to the paint. We always want to get a foot in the paint. If we can get 2 feet in the paint, that's even better. And so we want to make sure that once we get into the paint, that we find our shooters. But if we can't find our shooters and we can't finish at the hole, our first priority should be to try to get it to Tommy to see if we can play off of him, because he was a great passer. But also it opens up the floor. Whenever you start, I feel that whenever you start in the post, and you can get that going, it opens up everything else, because now your cutting lanes become open. Now your shooters, your opposite shoot. We always teach him, we always try to teach our post to, when they reverse pivot, look opposite, because that guy's going to usually be wide open. We try to get those offensive tendencies, whereas we're a team that we believe that if we get an offensive rebound, we should shoot a 3. That's what we, that's big for us. Like the kids, and when you have those and you go through those in practice, especially against a game like this, like those are big, because, St. Charles is a great defensive rebounding team. So when you can get an offensive rebound, you can get a quick kick out for a 3, then, that is where, I think that you can pick up those extra 50-50 plays.
Got it. Moving to in-game here. Talk to me a little bit about theories like how many to the glass, or the pace of play that you want to play at, controlling overall tempo, or controlling the number of possessions. Do you have like standard theories, or did you manipulate them for this particular opponent?
So because we were guard heavy, we want to race the ball up the court, and so we're big on getting the ball to the corner, so that once it gets to the corner, now you can create, because you got cutters in transition, you have skips, you have you have a better angle for screens. So we try to push the pace across the court. But once we get it, we don't get an immediate layup. So we teach our point guards, you have 4 seconds. So if you can create something and get to the basket in 4 seconds, that's fine. After that, if you don't have anything, if you don't have a layup or an easy shot, we bring it back out and we set it up. And we are deliberate in running our sets and what we want. We want to make sure that we get the shot that we want, and we want the highest percentage shot. It's not just okay for us to get just a good shot. We want to get the highest percentage shot. Yeah, you may have that open three, but if you make that one more pass and that guy's a higher percentage shooter at that shot, then that's what we want. And so we teach our guys, we teach our guys, hey, you got to know your teammates' tendencies and you got to know what they do well. So if Jake's in the corner and I'm slashing, if I'm slashing and I have a one-on-one, if as soon as I draw the defender, I got to automatically know that I'm kicking it out to Jake, because he's going to knock that down at a higher percentage than me trying to go up and finish through contact. And so we were big on just being deliberate with, once we get across half, we don't have things, bring it back out, run our sets. We like to send 3 to the glass because we're smaller. We like to make sure that we try to stop that break. Excuse me. We try to stop our breaks at 3/4 of a court. So now sometimes and it's rare, but there were some games where we had 4 guards and we got if we had 4 guards, and we had the luxury of having some of our younger guys that are 6'3" or 6'4", those in between positions, and all of our guys were pretty much the same size. So if we send 4 to the glass, we had to make sure that point guard understood, hey, it's your job to stop the ball, and then everybody's racing back. And so we like to send 3 to the glass on offense. On defense, we get everybody in the paint until we secure the rebound, and then we're out in transition. But we're big on the 3 to the glass, 2 back, to try to slow it down, because we felt like that a slower paced game was to our advantage. A faster paced game kind of can get out of hand for us.
Okay. So in game, you mentioned, in the description of how you prepare, you did mention the analytic of 67% winning if you get 8 to 12 kills in a game. I'm assuming that's probably one of the things you're tracking with your group on the side. Are there others? And what's important to you on a box score?
So the 3 biggest stats for me, especially in the first half, are charges taken, deflections, and how many offensive rebounds we give up.
Okay.
The thing that, because in the first half, we try to teach guys that in the first 3 to 4 minutes, the referees are going to show you how they're going to call the game for the most part. And so if we're not aggressive enough, or if we're allowing too many offensive rebounds, one, we're too small to allow you to just get a vast number of offensive rebounds. But also we have to make sure that we're being aggressive on the offensive end and the defensive end. And so with the deflections, we teach that you get steals off of deflections. It's rare that you will just pick someone's pocket at half court. You're liable. You're more likely to get a foul. So we try to teach swiping up and actually not overplaying to get yourself out of position. And so that's why we value deflections and the loose balls. A lot of times, we track this stat of how many loose balls we have per game. So we had an average of 9 loose balls per game. our first 11 games, we were only getting 2 out of the 9. And so the 50-50 balls, we need, we say we need those. And so we track those to try to keep, that in line. Of course, we track our kills, and we also track our turnover to assist ratio, because we try to value the basketball. And so whenever one of our guards, or anybody actually, but specifically if our point guards get 2 to 3 turnovers in the first quarter, we actually kind of pull them out to try to, like, one, show them what's going on, and where they're trying to, like, over penetrate or overplay, or where the deficiency is, so that they can correct it, and we can try to use that as a successful tool.
Love it. Let's elaborate on that a little bit. Let's say one of these key performance indicators is not what you want. Let's say you're not getting the deflections, the amount of kills, they're getting too many offensive rebounds against you, any of these things, and it's halftime, and you notice this on a box or from your assistant coaches. What does correction look like with Coach Ox? Like, are you a yeller and screamer? Are you subbing multiple players? How do you make those changes that affect change?
So when I was a younger coach, I was known for pulling you out after each mistake, just to try to tell you and get you, together. Now we try to let them play through a mistake or two. One, to not only build the confidence, but two, to see how they're going to react. At halftime, usually, we huddle up as coaches, and I let the assistant coaches, they'll give their, because everybody, like I said, everybody has a specific for that game. So, for instance, for the St. Charles game, I had defense, and so for us, I noticed that we were letting them. So we play a great 2-3 zone, and we have a extended Syracuse, but we were letting the same guy get to the elbow, and once he was getting to the elbow, he was able to kick it out, and they had a guy who came off the bench who hit a couple threes, and we actually were up, and because we just did not cover this guy, we literally gave up the lead, because we didn't play to our principles. And so instead of being in attack mode like I normally in the halftime, I'm like, hey, we got to do this, guys. I actually drew it on the board what it looks like when we're sitting on the sideline, and we're saying, hey, you didn't run this guy off the line. You literally just, you closed out, and we teach closing out to the side of the shooter's hand, because high school players have a tendency to foul when they try to block a shot. We don't teach putting a hand in the face. No, we literally try to run out to the side of the shooter's hand to try to just distract, and then that puts us in an easier position to box out. And so we weren't closing out well at all, and so we gave up 3 threes in a row to close out the half. And I think it was 2 threes on a big shot. So, that halftime talk was more so, hey guys, we just gave up this because we didn't do this. So now this is how you change it in the second half. These are the adjustments that we need to be successful, and this is how you're going to implement that for success. And so they came back out and they did it. Not with the fidelity that we had hoped for, but they did get a little better with some of the defensive deficiencies that we had in the first half.
And then last one I tend to ask before we move into the film itself, is in terms of the process. They say hindsight is 20/20, etc. Is there anything afterwards that you were like, I could have added this to the scout or subtracted this from the scout, or anything in the evaluation process that you were like, I don't think this was execution. This was actually like me not conveying something properly here, etc. Just give us sort of like the rundown as to, do you do anything where you're evaluating both yourself and your team, and what does that look like?
Every game. And so right immediately after every game, I usually, and this is probably just out of passion, I beat myself up, because anytime you lose, players win the game, coaches, they lose the game, especially if it's they say if it's less than 5 points, then it was on
Let
the
me
coach.
interrupt you. I say that all the time. Players win games, coaches lose games. It's that
Yeah,
simple.
yeah,
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you always think about what you could have done. The three things in this game that I beat myself up for. I felt like one, we didn't go back to the post enough when we had the advantage. Two, we didn't drive and out of transition in the manner that I think that we should have. Like, we didn't race the ball with validity and fidelity that I think that we could have. And then the probably the biggest thing is I just felt like we didn't score enough off of our out of bounds plays, especially after a timeout. We have special situations where after a timeout, we have a certain set play or two that we run. And also underneath, I don't think that I don't think I placed enough emphasis on the option that should have been used.
Gotcha. And do you do anything that's like a written report of that, or is that really just kind of going through and mental rehearsal of the game? And like coaches have a tendency to go out for some adult beverages or some food afterwards and beat themselves over it. What does that process look like where you're recognizing and going back to it for you?
Well, I have now. I don't know about any other coaches, but I have the privilege of having a lot of guys who are up late at night to 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and so I talk to guys on the phone, and I share film. I talk to people. I ask to, like, I just say, hey guys, what would you do? Like,
Yeah.
again, the night after a game, I probably don't go to bed until 4 or 5 in the morning if I go to bed at all. I replay the game over and over because as a coach, we're always learning. We should always be trying to get better. And so whether I win or learn, if I don't feel like I got 1% better, then I have to find that whatever it was in that game that didn't make me better, and so I have to change and adjust so that the next time it'll be a more productive or desirable outcome.
And for anybody who's listening, I can't recommend having the support system any stronger than Coach Ox just did. I'm the same way. I got a lot of friends who are up pretty late, and sometimes we have to just be there for each other and sound off a little bit because them kids sometimes they'll get you for sure. So if anybody has questions, please feel free to jump in. If not, Ox, I'm going to jump into some film. I think I have about 9 or 10 clips from this game. As I said to you before, I'll play each clip 2 or 3 times. I'll try and fumble through a description for anybody who's listening to the podcast and not watching. And then really it's just all you. Take it away. Tell me what you see, what you like, what you don't like, if you would do it again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just really want to have a film session with Coach Ox. So first off, how's our playback speed here? Are we okay? Is that good for you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this one is a really easy one. It's one of the first plays of the game for them. I actually used to run this zone offense where it's just like a continual motion type deal. But my note was pretty much, you guys are defending in the 2-3. You play in the 2-3 a lot through the whole game. Talk to me about how you feel you guys are executing to start the game. And for anybody who's listening, the offense, the other team, is basically just running a pass and go opposite where the nail steps up. So it's like a triangle that keeps moving. Pass, go opposite, nail, step up. So it sort of minimizes the rotations that they have to make. And then after 2 times through, they run a ball screen on the offensive left side of the floor. And then one more and up fake and swing, throw it into the post. He misses. They end up going back the other way. Talk to me about your rotations. Talk to me about your teaching principles, all that fun stuff, please.
So depending on the situation, we like to, in our Syracuse, we like to have our wings play high and at an angle. We feel like if they're playing at an angle, it's easier to get out to that that wing three to close that out. We like to bump down, especially once it gets to a wing. We literally have the wings come up and then they bump down once the top guy is coming over. Our anchor in the middle, who usually has to be the most vocal person. We like to make sure that the backside. We always leave the one backside guy open because we want to try to get people to throw the skip. And so if we leave one backside pass open or one option open, we kind of want to bait people in, but we don't gamble. We literally stay put and try to make sure that we cover the premise of no middle, as well as the help side defense from the weak side, because in this game, as you can see, once they set the screen, they always let their shooter pop to the wing and then he flashes middle. So we want to make sure that we take that option away and make them kick it back out to take a undesirable shot, more so than getting in the paint.
Like it. On this closeout with the one more, I noticed that you bumped down on the closeout. Is this by design, or is this good players just making a good play in your opinion?
Well, it was a solid play, but we bumped down just because we found that it was easier to bump down and then recover, because you're faster going forward than trying to go back. So right. we try to bump down so that guy can just pivot and go back out to the first pass. We try not to allow that get back pass.
Gotcha. And then overall, happy with your rotations? Is there anything you see that sticks out that you would be giving feedback on, or outcome aside, obviously?
Yeah. So our guys have a tendency to play with their hands down instead of out. We like to play the passing lanes, and so if your guys don't have their hands up, I noticed that sometimes they have their hands to the side, and that's just not something we try to promote. We want to make sure that our hands are active and engaged in the lane so that we can get deflections.
Love it. Next one's an easy one. I do this on every show basically. So we come down, ball's in the center of the floor, we kick it out to the offensive left side, put it up. He nails it. Easy question. Transition threes, yay or nay for you, coach? And if yes, what does a player have to do to be eligible to shoot them for you?
So I'm really big on transition threes if your guys can hit them. So we give guys a percentage. So if you're not at a certain percentage, you can't shoot transition threes. It's just simple for us. Jake, number 11, he was shooting 43, 44%. In practice, if we go down and if we're practicing our transition threes and out of 10 shots, you hit 2, then you can't take transition threes. But if you're at that, 3, 4, 5 clip, especially at the 4 or 5 clip, if you're 4 and above, you can take them. If you're 3 and below, then you can't take them.
And that would all be determined from practice, you said? It wouldn't be from game time? Yeah, okay. And do you have certain drills that it's like, hey, this is counting towards your ability to do this stuff, or is everything counting?
We have everything that counts, but we do a drill where we have 95 threes in 5 minutes. And so everybody, you have 3 lines, and the goal is to make 95 threes in 5 minutes. And so our managers track that, and so they track who's knocking them down. So that whoever has the higher percentages, those are the people that when we go into our transition offense, we're saying, hey, if you're open, you have the green light. Some people have a fluorescent green light. Some people have a regular green light, and then some people have the yellow light. But Jake had a fluorescent green.
Love it. What do I got next? I have clearing ball side corner on pick and roll. So basically, for anybody who's listening, we're in a short corner, about to become a spread pick and roll here. The ball's on the offensive left side. So here comes our screen. As the screen comes, at the same time, we empty out the strong side corner, the ball side corner, so the offensive left side. And then we get an empty side roll and a nice little up fake ends up missing the shot. But I'm just wondering if this is uh, good players making a good play, or if this is the way that you guys are playing your pick and roll here. Is this something that you're doing to manipulate where help is coming from on the regular?
Yes, this is actually one of our sets that we call out of our Utah series, and so we try to get, if it's a situation where we have a more agile person who's setting the screen. We had the luxury of having one of our young guys, actually a sophomore, number 24, Will Ellis. He's about 6'4", and so he was able to go from the wing to a forward position. And whenever we have those type of situations, we like to use it to our advantage because, again, in the pick and roll, when you have a shooter that goes from one corner to the other, that becomes a distraction for the help side. And so now we like to get people in the pick and roll action. We like to make you pick your poison. You're either going to give up that you're going to give up a layup. You're going to give up the layup. The kick out for the three, or our point guard can literally get to the lane and try to create. So that is our Utah series. That is what our Utah series is designed to create.
Love it. I have a couple questions. The first question is, in terms of the read on the ball defender, this to me looks like he's trying to ice and or send weak, and is incapable of doing so. What would your teaching point be for your ball handler and your screener as to when they would flip or twist the screen, as opposed to when they would still try to get over and attack like they do here?
So we teach to set the screen on either side of the 3-point line. We try to get it as close to the in between the hash mark, the volleyball line, and as close to the 3-point line as possible. If the defender has his back turned, we want the guard to run off as hard as they can and probe as soon as they get past the guard. And for if the screener sees that the guy's trying to jump the screen, his job is to take one step back and then go to the opposite side so that the guard can come right back off of that and go the opposite way. And then we have the backside wing come roll up so that you now have two people in position to drive, but you also have a top of the key jump shot in case the ball handler gets in trouble.
Like it. And as far as the ball handler goes, when is the ball handler too much in this direction, in your opinion, as opposed to still attacking the center of the floor? Are there geographical indicators, or is it just like a feel from continually repping in practice? Because I find personally that a lot of ball handlers at the levels that I've coached end up being too much east-west and not enough north-south. So you had said you want them to get downhill as quickly as possible. What are sort of the ball needs to be one more here, as opposed to, no, you can still turn that corner in your teaching?
So when we're teaching, we teach them to try to get hip to hip, and once you get past the hip, if the defender steps up, then you immediately have that one more. But if the help side defender gives you 2 steps, or you have a lead step on them, then we try to encourage them to keep going, so that they don't have that east-west. Now, what happens is, if you are stopped immediately, then we teach to escape dribble and analyze and survey the situation and see if we can get another ball screen to create a mismatch. But at no point do we ever want them to go east-west, because once they go east-west, it creates trap zones for the defense to benefit from.
Like it. Last one I got on this one is number 5, I notice ends up screening his own instead of screening the cutter man. And I'm just wondering if you guys had something in your scout where you recognized they were attempting to switch, so he was screening his own, or if he's just making a read that ends up being a pretty good read here.
Well, St. Charles is really good at switching everything. So we try to get people to screen the first guy so that if the shooter pops out, no matter where the shooter is, we can actually get him in position to get the best shot, other than just trying to screen a specific man.
Like it. If you notice, it actually causes a bit of confusion, right? Because to me, it looks like the low man who should really be the help is trying to get this guy to switch. He's trying to point out doesn't happen. They help from the wrong person, probably even ended up having to dump off. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe you came away with that rebound.
We did.
And then baseline play, this was just a simple one. Talk to me about your play after the play. You guys run a box set. You're under out on the offensive left side of the floor. So there's a diagonal screen, and then the two gentlemen up top just popped out, and we all make cuts to try and get it wide open here. It makes a great cut. So talk to me about the original action not working and how you teach your guys to continue to be smart and make the play after the play, and what your inbounder should be looking for.
So our inbounder initially, so on the down, so on the up screen, number 2 should be attacking the basket side and then popping out. Well, once 5 pops out, 11 is a decoy because he's supposed to flash to the volleyball line and then stay there. Whoever the top man is, your job is to attack again to see if we can get the ball either on a layup or to Tommy in the post, because once 5 goes through and that guy goes with him, if he doesn't get the ball, Tommy should be wide open with his open hand towards the basket where he can lean to his strong side.
Got it. And then this cut is still actually part of your under out, or this is just making a good read at that point?
No, so he's supposed to cut. So we don't want to inbound the ball. So most high school players that I've coached had a tendency to throw the ball in the first 1 or 2 seconds without letting the play develop. And so we tell them that we don't want you to release it until 1003 or 1004, right before the referee's going to call it. We want to get, as close to the basket or a great corner shot as possible.
Yeah, I agree. It's my comment all the time is, if he's open now, that guy will be open in 2 seconds.
Correct.
Let this other stuff develop and we'll be able to get it in.
Correct.
This is an easy one. You guys are in ball screen. You've actually started empty and are bringing somebody to the strong side corner this time. They are in drop coverage. So you guys twist the screen and attack middle, get through the nail, makes a great drop off, and we get a good finish on it. Talk to me about attacking the drop and what you teach your guys. And I mean, obviously the great pass that he makes, I'm sure is coach is very proud of, but just talk to me about the principles of attacking the drop, and tell me a little bit about bringing the player to the strong side corner this time.
Yeah. So whenever we have our post players screen and rescreen, this is actually one of our bread and butter sets. Once we have the guard attacking, we want to make sure that we have somebody in the corner who Jake is a shooter, but he's rolling up. So on the roll up, on the attack, now we keep one guy in the corner, and so that makes everybody have to play a little bit more honest. Whoever the screener is, once he goes and he rolls, it's pretty much you got to pick your poison. Either you're going to let the guard go all the way to the basket, or the big is going to be able to get. I mean, whoever the screener is, whether it's a big or a guard, they're going to be able to be in a good position as well. So that's probably one of our sets where we actually are really proud of, because it worked a lot of the time, especially when we had Tommy in a high pick and roll situation, because he sets really good screens.
Question for you, from a teaching standpoint, on the twirl when he goes to rescreen. Do you care if he rolls versus slips? And what I mean by that, for anybody who doesn't understand, is the front pivot versus the back pivot and seal. Or do you let him just kind of make the read situationally?
I'll be honest. We were trying to get Tommy to just make sure that he opened up a lot more, because we were just trying to get him to be comfortable with, just setting the screens and opening up. So we actually emphasized just dropping instead of just, allowing him to flip, because I really felt like if we would have allowed him to try different things, it might have confused him a little bit, especially with what we needed for this game.
And then as far as I know you had mentioned he's hadn't really played very much high school basketball. How do you feel about bigs taking the 1-2 versus taking the 1-2 with putting the ball on the floor? Would you prefer him to keep it off the ground versus put it down, or vice versa?
We teach to keep it up. I think that whenever anybody 6'5" and up at the high school level puts the ball on the ground, I don't think anything positive. I just think that whenever they put it on the ground, I don't think anything positive, majority of the time happens.
So would it be fair to say then that early pocket passes are not something that you encourage at your level?
I got it. So I don't know if you caught a couple of the in this game, it was a couple pocket passes that one got through and one didn't get through, and I had the same reaction on both of them. My point guard, because at every dead ball, we teach our point guards to run over and tell us what they see, and they can receive instructions. So one of the pocket passes, I said, do not throw the ball to Tommy. He's not ready for those type of passes. And so again, if your post player can catch those type of pocket passes, fine. But because of his inexperience, I felt like we were setting him up with pocket passes, instead of just, giving him that ability to just catch it in his chest and gather himself, more so than, trying to find it off the floor.
Gotcha. My note is late game charge, work on, and risky. So basically, you guys are in your 2-3. They make a wing pass to the offensive left side. He tries to do a little jump to pass type deal. And I don't have a problem with jumping to pass, but I do have a problem with jumping to make a decision. Your bottom right of your 2-3 takes a great charge. Just for argument's sake, you're down 5. There's 4 minutes left. Is it risky in your opinion to take it here in terms of you're playing 4-on-5? And if not, is it something that you work on, especially against guys who are passing the ball?
Yeah, we try to. It's three areas that we emphasize on taking charges, especially on our guards. We try to take charges above the blue line, because the referee is in the open court and the referee can see it. We also try to take charges outside of the paint, because when you take charges outside of the paint, most of the time that guy doesn't have those 2 steps to gather himself. So he's more likely to give you that charge either right outside of the paint or on the baseline. And then the next charge zone that we try to emphasize is above the blue line. And so those are our 3 primary charge areas, where no matter where, if it's early game, late game, if you try to take a charge in those areas, I'm fine. I can live with that, because that's something that we work on and emphasize.
So if he missed this call, if the ref's sleeping on it, calls a block, lets it go, you're good with the fact that's a winning play in your opinion?
Yeah, yes, indeed. It's a winning play, and we're cool with it. We're literally, like, most of the time I'll say, you could have gave us that, because people don't realize that, even though we say that officials, you can't control the game. Sometimes there's, because their calls are subjective, it can change the momentum or the outcome. But again, we try not to let the, officiating affect us. So, we still promote, hey, we're going to try to take as many charges as possible. And if you get a block or a charge, if you're trying to do the right thing, we're okay with that.
Like it. I just wrote late defensive possession for this one. This was a bit of an interesting one. If you notice, their zone break has not tightened up. It's actually become a little bit more deformed in terms of their rotation. So they go straight into their ball screen here, and their spacing is a little bit off. So on the offensive left side, they have a ball screen attack. They get kind of corralled to the nail area. They one more it to the corner, so a swing and a one more. And you guys play against that with a pretty good closeout. They skip it and you gamble for it, miss on that. So 5-on-4 at this point, and gets downhill and just shoots a contested shot against your big. I thought this was a great contest. Unfortunately, they come away with the offensive rebound and putback. Talk to me about the possession as a whole. What you see, what you like, how well you played it, all that kind of stuff.
So the guard who and Tayshawn is one of our point guards, number 4. He's really aggressive, and he's athletic, but he has a tendency to gamble. And so one of my issues in the last 3 minutes of the game, like I told you before, I felt like we played with our hands down a lot, and we teach outside hand. So Tayshawn, if he uses his outside hand as we teach and preach, then he still is in position. If he misses the ball, he's still in position to be in a good defensive stance. But because he gambled with his inside hand, it put him out of position, and it put pressure on his help side to try to back him up. Now,
Right.
Tommy did a great contest. He didn't break the plane, but our backside wing didn't box out. And so now, it comes up with a situation where now you got to put back, off of a basket, when we could have easily just had a great defensive possession had we not gambled. And so in that play, not playing with our outside hand, that really hurt us. And so unfortunately, there was a sub at the table, because that was a gamble that we didn't need at that juncture in the game. And so we have to talk to you and say, hey, that you have to play smarter than that, especially when the game is tight.
Your low guard that you talked about not being able to box. In an ideal world, what's your teaching point? Is he just basically forcing him right underneath?
Yeah, so we teach guys to try to, and this is probably not good to say publicly, but we try to get guys to walk guys in, using your forearm, or your lower body, to kind of walk the guy in, to kind of push him underneath the basket, so that if we're literally coming into the possession, you have a better chance to get the rebound.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that personally. For me, that's get him under the basket, get him out of there. I'd rather that foul call than that putback.
Correct.
I get that foul call, depending on bonus, no bonus situation, you're under, out, or shooting, as opposed to putting 2 in. And a lot of bigger guys aren't great free throw shooters. I'll live with those chances.
I agree.
Down 7, 30 seconds remaining. You throw in a quick press here. Give me some of your teaching points and the objective of this press. Are you trying to steal it back? Are you trying to steal and then foul? Are you just trying to get a deflection? Talk to me about all of it, and I'll run it so that anybody who's listening can take a look. Basically, we just dribble it right up the left side of the floor. We 2 or 3 guys are chasing, depending on your perspective, and it goes off of dude's head out of bounds when they try to make the diagonal pass there. So you do actually end up with the touch scenario and getting it back.
So it was actually a botched press. So our point guard and our post player were in the wrong positions. So in our late game press, we put our post player over the ball. We run a 2-man front, and so we try to trap so that we can get them to pass the ball back to the inbounder, so that we can recover and try to get a weak side steal. Our late game press actions, we try to either steal and score immediately, or we want to steal and foul so that we can put them on the line, especially when you're down 7 with 30 seconds. We literally told them, if we don't get a quick steal, we have to foul immediately. And we tell at that juncture, we tell guys who we can foul and put on the line for a higher percentage of a rebound and missed shot.
And you would have that information going in. You guys, that's part of your scout, something that you put in
Correct.
there. Awesome. And then I think I have one more here. No, I think I have two more actually. So you're still down 7. This is going back the other direction. 30 seconds roughly. So, about 7 seconds after the last one. There's no ATO here. You guys did not call a timeout and go through something. Do you work on these scenarios in your practices? What's the call? Are you just trusting a player to make a good play? For anybody who's listening, basically point guard just takes it right down the alley. I mean, he's inside the volleyball court and steps through, makes an underhand layup against pressure. So talk to me about what you're telling your guys when they're working with this kind of scenario, and if you practice this in practice.
We actually do. We practice it we had the benefit of having 2 different style point guards. One was a change of pace and one was just a speedy guy. So Tayshawn is our speedy guy. And so in late game situations, we put the ball in Tayshawn's hand to try to get to the basket and create and try to either get a layup or a foul. And so in instances where we use Trey, which is number 1, he's a change of pace guy. If we call a timeout, then we're running a set. We have him coming in. But
Right.
With this is one of the actions that we practice in practice on a daily basis. Is just racing the court, trying to create something in that 4-second window.
Love it. And that's go. That's just your go series. Go get it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. And then this was, I think, one of the final plays of the game here. We're at an under out. You're in a line formation, which is a little different than what you had been using throughout the game with the box formation. You pop your third guy, and then he goes straight back. Your second guy pops the ball side corner, and the gentleman who started not in the line but on the opposite side block makes kind of a cut away and a cut back to the ball. We inbound to him, and he tries to get up and under, and then ends up dropping it off to the big, who just kind of misses a little bunny. And I think it's sort of the best chance we had here. Talk to me about if this is drawn up, what this looks like in terms of how you guys executed, what your thoughts are.
So initially it's supposed to be a dribble handoff for the shooter. And so if you notice, when everybody pops, we want Jake to pop to the corner to be a distraction. So after number 5 comes around, Tommy has 2. So when number 5 comes around, it's supposed to be a dribble handoff for number 11 to come off and see if we can get a shot. Well, because they collapsed, 5, we said if they collapse on you, then you have to attack. Well, Tommy didn't flatten out like we teach. He actually was kind of a hindrance where he was. Tommy wasn't supposed to get the ball. It was supposed to be him flattening out. And so we have the open shots for the 2 shooters. At some point, we're always attacking the basket, but we had said that we needed a 3 so that we can try to cut the deficit and then call a timeout. And so, the dribble handoff didn't occur. Our second action actually occurred because he attacked, but Tommy clogged up the middle too much. And when he didn't flatten out, it kind of affected the ability of people to relocate and the shooters to be located. Thus, we ended up with, kind of like a botched possession.
Tommy's your big, number 42. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you were saying flatten out, sorry, direct me. Where did you want him to go on this?
So we wanted him to actually pop to the elbow.
I gotcha.
Because once he pops to the elbow, so when he pops to the elbow, now the dribble handoff comes. So it's actually when 5 dribble handoffs to 11, he comes off that screen and he's got a top of the key 3, and we'll live with him shooting from the top of the top of the key, because he shot at such a high percentage.
So this would be your dribble handoff right here that you're talking about.
Yes.
With your big.
Well, so 5 is supposed to dribble handoff and then flare to the corner. Well, after he does that, if Tommy is at the elbow, well, we actually teach to split the 3-point on our Dallas play. He splits the 3-point line, and Jake is dribbling off, coming off his shoulder and going right up into the shot.
Gotcha. That, sir, is the end of my film, I believe. I think actually there might be one more. Sorry.
Yeah, so if you see that it was supposed to be a dribble handoff, and if Tommy would have flared up, it would have been that screen, and we were hoping for
almost like pistol action, basically. Sorry to interrupt you, Ox. So on his catch, right? So almost like pistol action, where it's like he keeps going, and then here's the handoff, and here's your guy coming out of the corner, and then he's continuing on.
Yeah.
But as he's continuing on, your big would be here, basically just setting that, and he can duck in behind for that 3-point shot.
Correct.
Awesome. Like it. I believe I thought there was one more after this, actually. Nope, that's it. So end of the film, sir. I wanted to take a minute and give thanks where thanks are due, for sure. It's a real pleasure to have you on here, but friendship wise, thank you for always taking my calls. Thank you for always giving me the advice that's needed. And I've had the benefits of hanging out with you in multiple cities. Thank you for always being a gentleman and a scholar while doing so. And shout out to the lovely Miss Aquia. Please send my best. But thank you also to all the coaches who jump on. I hope that you guys continue to find value in this and are okay with me fumbling through these questions and descriptions, trying to make these, trying to be along for the ride while these gentlemen make themselves look as good as they are. So thank you, sir. I appreciate you, and I'm happy that we got to pound this out finally.
I would be remiss if I didn't say how important run it back is, not just for coaches, but for anybody who follows the game, coaches, parents, scouts. It's just it's refreshing the way that you intertwine the analytical part and the dissection of the different frames, so that just a regular layman, if I were a parent watching this, I would say, hey, he explained that, just eloquently. And so I think that you should be thanked, because this is a service for all of us. And so I appreciate it. And like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't thank you for just the platform and the opportunity. Also, the guys who are in our circle, the way that everybody talks about running back. And remember, running back is not just stateside. Running back is international. You got guys in Germany. You got, you might have you might have a polar bear in Antarctica.
If there's basketball up there, I'm gonna ask him a question or two.
Yeah, he might ask, how can he defend the hippo? I don't know. That's but just the presence in the worldwide. And I'm just, like I said, I was excited just to be on and, to follow behind some of these professional college and high school guys who've gone before me. Again, I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. And thank you for the kind words. I'm going to stop the recording there. Gentlemen, please tune in. Ladies and gentlemen, please tune in next week, and we'll continue to run it back. I appreciate all of you.
Is it possible I can talk about one of our other sponsors as well?
Oh, please do before we jump off. I know you've got some.
So it's another amazing show, Unmasked, which is the docu-series that talks about the journeys of different college coaches, and it gives that other side of the game. In addition to just being a great resource, Lamar Barrett does an excellent job of just covering things, and him and Menelik have two of the most amazing platforms that I've ever been associated with. And if you get a chance, not only to watch the previous 96 episodes of Run It Back, get a chance, check out the Unmasked docuseries by Lamar Barrett on YouTube. And again, these two gentlemen are amazing. But again, I'm so thankful for Mentally for not only being a resource and a brother, but just being a great man of hoop. And again, everybody should tune in next week to check the next episode. And I'm thankful for my opportunity.
Appreciate that. And big shout out to LB. I mean, his show is fantastic. I couldn't stress that enough. I'm happy you have the shirt with you. And I've met just as many gentlemen through LB as I have through this show, and nothing but love for everything he does for all of us. One of the most genuine people you will ever meet. So please take a look at his show as well. 100%. Ox, nothing but a pleasure. I'm gonna stop the recording there. Please hang out. Let's shoot the shit a little bit.